Hey, let me talk about The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, A History of Nazi Germany by William L. Shrr, a book originally published in 1960 with a 1990 or something afterward. And it's also, there's like a 50th anniversary edition. Shrr was an American foreign correspondent who reported on the Nazis since 1925. Sifted through masses of documents just relatively shortly, I guess, after the war, in relative terms, to kind of compile this fairly exhaustive account of everything from the rise of Nazis, well before, starting off with Adolf Hitler, his background, through kind of like, the into the 20s, the failed beer hall putsch, them finally rising to power, taking over, Nazifying the country, truly turning every single corner of life within Nazi Germany to the Nazi cause, controlling all sources of information. So, if you are a German in Nazi Germany, the only source of information you had was the Nazis, which is, you get the sense of this is the start of truly state control on this kind of thing, of like what you're going to think, what you're going to know, and just infusing every part of your life. Definitely going through, at the same time, the rising persecution of Jewish people and others, communists, anyone who isn't straight, um, just going through and systematically excluding those people from German life, and then, ultimately the final solution, which Hitler was very open about in his book Mein Kampf, which he wrote while he was in prison for that failed putsch, of what he was going to do. And people just thinking it was just so outlandish, people not taking it seriously. There's very much a thing here of how much Hitler was just not taken seriously by people within his own country, and then outside as kind of this comical kind of guy, which does have echoes of today. It was really striking in the book of, how much, Hitler and the Nazis were just so comfortable lying, in their foreign, like especially in their foreign policy, of how they just, would lie, like, oh, we just went into here, oh, we don't want to do anything else, oh, they were, and would kind of cast kind of thing of like, what was their aggression is why we entered, is they were harassing Germans within these other countries, so we had to go in to protect our fellow Germans, when there was no evidence of that, or any of the evidence that was of that was manufactured by the Nazis themselves. So you feel, there's very much of him giving like all these peace, like if you went by his speeches, if you went by, what they were putting out, the Germany of Nazi Germany was the country of peace. They only wanted peace. And I mean, this is what they told, Germans within Germany. It's like, we only want peace. It's these warmongering British or French that were doing that. We really get the struggle of the Nazi Party against what became the only group within Germany that might have actually stood up to them, that might have turned the tide, and that is the military. Germany doesn't seem to, I mean, at least from Schreyer's point of view, doesn't have like that long of a, history of democracy. And, Shire's got his own theory. This is the beginning of kind of theories of like, well, why did this take root in Germany, this highly cultured, highly advanced, European country? There's that complicit racism of like, oh well, it's a third world country, it's poor ignorant people, of course they fell for some totalitarian asshole. But it's like, oh my god, this has happened to Germans who seem to be so cultured. So, the height of our white European history. I'm Canadian, so the white settler. It's like, it's looking back. You look back at your progenitors. It's all these white Europeans is what I'm looking back at, which is, I guess, why it shakes people in the West so much that Germany went down this super ultra dark path that that in the end didn't have that much effect. So Shrr's got his own theories on why this was the case, all the various things. And I mean, a part of it was that Hitler was really good at lying, was really good at politically maneuvering. He was a madman, but he was a madman who was also smart and was able to kind of manipulate people and see all the weaknesses in his society and take advantage of them. So yeah, this book took me a long time to read. I broke this. It is. God damn it! It is over. I don't think I have it here. It's a long book. It's, yes, 1,614 pages long in some editions, and that's probably with all the footnotes and stuff. But you can still see well over 1,000 pages, and it took me a long time to read because you're spending all this time with Nazis. You're it's not people that you want to spend that much time with. So I took me a long time to read. It's a both detailed and it's brisk at the same time. I mean, there's so much to talk about this. This is even though it's a book that's focusing strictly on the rise and fall of the Third Reich, you can see that each one of these subject matters that I've talked about so far are easily their own book or library of books in themselves. But I think he does a good job of giving an overview, but with giving you details within that. There are a lot of quotes from the actors in the thing, the people in the various people in the Nazis party, the various generals who very much tried to kind of spin, especially post World War II, tried to spin a narrative of we weren't responsible. We had been that there were generals trying to resist Hitler right up to the end. That's definitely something that they're trying to a narrative that they're trying to create for their own benefit. And Shrr says that he is not falling for it. I mean, they are major sources, so you have to kind of take all this with a grain of salt with how much Shrr is able to parse. I mean, he was there for a lot of the time in Germany itself, so he's well aware what these people were like before the fall of Nazi Germany. There's definitely a kind of a sense of that this was fairly doomed from the beginning. Like that, the generals argued right from the beginning. It's like you do not have the supplies, you do not have the raw materials to be able to pursue a two-front war, but Hitler would not listen to that. And for, I mean, the longest of time he didn't listen to things, and he conquered most of Europe that way. But in the end, he finally pushed his luck, and I mean, thank fucking God he did, because the amount of death and destruction, especially to the Jewish population and others that he was able to, Hitler and the Nazis were able to accomplish in the 12 years that they were in power, is horrifically large. I think he does a really good job of showing exactly how much of an absolute state Germany was. He shows, how much they were liars, and how much the countries surrounding them desperately wanted that to believe the lies that Nazis were saying, like, oh, we only want peace, we just want this. Oh, we want peace, we just want this. It's like able to say that over and over again and get away with it over and over again. I mean, and countries, superpowers of the time, like Britain and France, all too willing to sacrifice smaller countries, Czechoslovakia, Poland, in the pursuit of protecting themselves, were up until a point were willing to kind of sacrifice that. Does a really good job of showing, that the Nazi idea was to literally enslave the rest of Europe, rest of the world. If it wasn't killing the Jews, it was enslaving Slavic races, people like that who just in an utter state of slavery. And I don't mean like just a subjugated state where you're just going to pay a little bit of money to the Germans all the time. It's like, no, slavery where everything was going to go to the uplifting of Germany and to the absolute starvation and death of those around them, like not giving a shit about that. Um, we do get that chapter on the Holocaust, and it is a horrific chapter on the Holocaust, probably about as much as I could want. But I know that that is such a large subject matter. So I guess in the end, I would have to say, like, this is a particular type of book. I don't think it's perfectly objective. It's written by a guy who went through American who went through World War II, got to see things very up close, but it's from a particular perspective. So it's got limitations like that. And it's not written from, historians kind of are very, professional historians are kind of like, oh, this is someone who's too close to the matter. He does have his points of view on things. He fucking hates the Nazis, which seems like a good point of view. But also, he's got his own pet theories that he puts forward, which, so it's not like the end all and be all. And I mean, it's such a vast thing with so much material to marshal, and you do get the sense that this is getting to see it from the German point of view, not seeing, like, the behind the scenes of the Allies and the Russians, the USSR at the time. So it's limited. It's limited that way, even though, because the Germans lost, he got so much access to all of their materials, which was good. So, I think I'm I'm grateful to Shrr producing such a kind of a detailed look of this rise and fall, and of, you know, unfortunately living in a time when there's a lot of talk about how fascism is rising again. And there's definitely things that you watch, you read about in this book about the early days of Nazi Germany, and you think it's not too far off of the culture wars, the spread of misinformation, the scapegoating of small groups, trans people, of, just kind of little powerless, tiny, not insignificant, but tiny, statistically just tiny parts of the population, which are like, they're easy scapegoats or easy ways of mobilizing your base. And yeah, it's one of those books I'm glad I finally got to. It's one of these things I think I picked up maybe in high school, and I looked a bit through it, and it was too much. Maybe the length and the subject matter was too much for me at the time. I'm really glad I finally did get to that. So yeah, that is my thoughts on The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, A History of Nazi Germany by William L. Shrr. More videos later.